What's going on, everybody? So, the Florida Gators enter week 4 at 2 wins to 1 loss. And they play another ranked team. This will be their 3rd ranked team in 4 games. The first 4 games for the Florida Gators. And, it's been a rough schedule, and it's been a rough going for the Florida Gators in general. A lot of miscues, a lot of, mistakes. But listen, with all that being said, the Florida Gators right now are still 2-1 with all those mistakes, all those miscues. So there's still time. Our season's only a quarter of the way through. We still have 75% more games. And so there's still time. First year head coach, nobody said it was going to be a smooth transition, but look, Billy Napier is doing what he can with the players that he's got right now. But with what this weekend's going to bring, well, this weekend's going to be a little different than what Billy Napier has been, accustomed to over the past 3 weeks. So this will be the first game the Florida Gators will be on the road. They travel to Knoxville, Tennessee, and take on the Tennessee Volunteers. Tennessee is ranked number 11th right now in the AP poll. And, yes, they haven't played a lot of good competition, especially in their first 3 games. Their first 3 games have been Ball State, Pitt, and Akron. Now, 2 of those 3 are way lesser competition. But the Pittsburgh game, now Tennessee traveled to Pittsburgh, the number 17th ranked team in the country, beat them in overtime. And Tennessee looked impressive. And, they utilized a couple of big-time players that I think they got that they will utilize in the Florida game. Let's talk about the stats for Tennessee. These first 3 games that they've had, let's dive into their team stats. Now, Tennessee points per game, they put up 52. They only allow 14. Yes, I get they haven't played great competition, but if you watch this defense and if you watch that Pittsburgh game, that defense comes after you. They have a physical defense, and they love to blitz, and I think they will do that when they take on Florida in Neyland Stadium. But, that defense does scare me, especially with the Florida Gators offense right now, just out of rhythm. But, that Tennessee defense is going to they're pretty good. I will give them props there. But let's dive right into these stats a little more. So total yards for Tennessee is 553. Now, yards passing, 371. Yards rushing, they have 182. Now, let's look at the Florida Gators. So their team stats, their points per game is 25.3. That is dang near half of what Tennessee averages to start the season. So not really good, but if you followed the Florida Gators the past or just this season, you knew that was going to be low anyways. But hopefully the Florida Gators can get their offense going against Tennessee. But on the road, this is going to be the first road game for first-year head coach Billy Napier. It's going to be a hostile environment. The Florida Gators actually play a lot of true freshmen, and I know a lot of people are calling for a switch at the quarterback position because Anthony Richardson ain't doing it in the past 2 weeks. Listen, I've been frustrated by him, but listen, you're not going to put anybody who's behind Anthony Richardson in that kind of environment. Just not going to do it. I wouldn't do it. Any coach who has any sense would not do that to anyone. And so Anthony Richardson is going to be the starter. He's going to be the quarterback the entire time unless something happens, barring injury. But, Anthony Richardson's confidence is just lacking right now. And hopefully, hey, maybe this week something will click. He's going to be on the road. He's going to be away from home. Maybe that helps him. I don't know. We will see. But what actually surprised me more than anything about these stats was Florida allows 26.7 points per game. They score 25, but they give up 26. And a lot of these games, I know Florida lost to Kentucky by 10, But, their 2 wins were one-score games, came down to the end. And, so Florida Gators have had a tough 3 weeks and some very close games. And, playing even ranked competition or non-ranked competition. It's been a crazy start to the season for the Florida Gators. Now, the total yards for Florida is 353. That is 200 yards less than Tennessee. That is not very good. Now, Florida's yards passing, this is not going to shock anybody, and it's, bad as anyone would think. 141 yards per game in the first 3 games. That is not very good, considering Tennessee puts up 371. Over 200 yards. 230 to be exact. That's a big difference right there. Yards rushing now, Florida does edge Tennessee in that department, 212 to 182. And, I think in this game, the Florida Gators are going to run the ball a lot. Hostile environment. They're going to want time of possession. And I know they like to do a lot of up tempo. I really think it's just going to be, run it, pound it with the 2 stud running backs, Montrell Johnson and Trevor Etienne. And, even use Naquan Wright. If they love to use a running back by committee, well, this is going to be a game for it. Just run this ball with everyone, even use Anthony Richardson. If he's healthy, I've heard that he doesn't look right because he's possibly hurt, but I haven't heard anything on the injury report yet. So maybe Anthony Richardson's legs will be fresh because he hasn't ran a whole lot. So maybe he'll go into Tennessee and use that God-given talent that he has and that explosiveness that you saw in that Utah game. But now on the defensive side, yards allowed, Florida allows 373 to Tennessee's 344. So 30 yards, around 30 yards difference right there. So not a huge difference. Now passing yards allowed, this is where Florida gets the edge, 178 to 261. Now Florida's secondary has been really good to start the season. Man, when these cornerbacks get up right on you and they're jamming you right at the line of scrimmage, and they're fighting you. Listen, Jalen Kimmer's playing with one arm, and he's getting pick sixes. So, the Florida Gators secondary is really good, and in the near future, they're supposed to be adding another corner who they lost the prior year, Jaden Hill. So, this defensive backs group is a really good one, and especially that they're playing true freshmen in big time minutes with Devin Moore and Kamari Wilson. So now rushing yards allowed, the Florida Gators give up 195 to Tennessee's 83. Now, of course, Tennessee, they're beating teams by 50 to 60 points. So a lot of times these teams are going to be throwing in garbage time. The only game that, that was not really was in doubt the entire time was the Pittsburgh game. So, Ball State and Akron, Tennessee's wiping them out, in the first half. So, them teams are just going to throw, so they're not going to be doing much running. But, Florida's run defense is not the greatest. They did give up, I believe it was like 280 yards to USF. If you look at the expert picks and what everyone, picks this game, Florida is not one of the favorites, let's just say. Tennessee is actually a 10.5 point favorite, which to me, that makes sense considering how bad Florida has played on offense, how good Tennessee has looked on offense. They're 3-0. They're beating teams by a lot that they should. So, this makes sense that they're a 10.5 point favorite and they're at home. But it really comes down to what's Florida going to do? What corrections are they going to make? Yes, they have won. It has not been pretty. But when you play really good competition, you start to play, really good SEC teams, you're okay. It's not going to be okay. Or just squeaking by. It's not going to cut it. Tennessee, at home, Florida going into Neyland Stadium. It's going to be a hostile environment. But you know what? College football is very tricky. And that's what, one of the biggest thing that makes college football great is the unexpected. You can have, some little FCS school just upset a FBS school who they were supposed to beat by 40, and a little FCS school beats them by 3, at the end. So, college football is great, especially if you're on the winning side. But, anything can happen. Anthony Richardson just needs to do what he does best in order to compete and keep up with Tennessee and their offense. And if Florida can go back and really look at what they did against Utah and how they utilize Anthony Richardson, I think offensively they can at least keep up with Tennessee. And as long as the Florida Gators on defense can come up with some big stops, listen, anything can happen in 60 minutes of college football or even just football in general. And, nobody thought Florida was going to beat Utah. And it happened week 1. Nobody's thinking Florida can beat Tennessee. It would be an upset. Hey, we'll find out. We'll see what Billy Napier and the Florida Gators are made of. We'll see what they look like coming right out of the gate. And, maybe they're going to be juiced up like how they were the first game against Utah. Because this is a big matchup. It's going to be loud in Tennessee. And I can't wait for this Saturday. But hey, everyone, I appreciate y'all watching this channel. Don't forget to hit that like button. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button as well. I appreciate it. Y'all have a great one.